If you came across the person who killed your own mother, how do you think that you would handle it? Welcome back to Hourglass Podcast number 5. I'm going to be talking about that exact scenario, that exact situation. I had front row tickets to see the interaction, the altercation that occurred when a guy ran across his mother's killer in a maximum security prison. First and foremost, you should know when you get classified into the Maryland DOC, they go through all of your records, all of your paperwork, and one of the questions that is very specific, and it was one of the very few things that they ask you, because they don't ask a lot. They don't care about your preferences, where you want to go. They might ask you just because they have to check a box, but specifically they will say, do you have enemies in any particular institution? They're trying to keep people away from each other that may be basically just trying to murder each other, trying to kill each other inside the joint. If you get your hands on someone who could be your co-defendant, who sent you up the road, obviously, they're going to try to keep you in separate institutions, unless something weird's going on, or more than likely, they just suck at their job, which I believe to be the case in this particular instance. Classification just sucked at their job. These people didn't care. They were the laziest HR type pencil pushers that you could find. They were pretty much useless, and they were just absolutely atrocious people. They were not good at their job. They had no regard for anybody. They were just filling out paperwork, stamping you, and pushing you through. This particular fumbling of the bag put these two guys in the institution that I was at. I was in WCI in Cumberland. It was a medium 2 institution when I first went there, and it was turned into a max 1. I don't know how much long after that, but shortly after, it turned into a maximum security 1 prison. These guys shouldn't have been around each other. This is just basic common sense. But I believe that this happened around the year 2007. I can't 100% recall the date of it, but it was in WCI. It was in 2007. And the only reason I got to witness what took place was because of the job detail that I was on. So to describe that and why I was able to catch and see this was actually a pretty cool job that I had. It was a nighttime ground maintenance gig. The nighttime ground maintenance position, there was 2 guys in the jail that had that spot, and it was very difficult to get on. It was like a coveted job because we didn't have to do a lot of work, and we got max good days for it. We got max pay for it, which isn't much. I can't remember if it was like $1.05 or something stupid like that, but that's max pay when you're in there. It's like $1.05 a day. So we would get that, and it would go into your state commissary account, and it'd be like, whatever, it was like $30 a month or something stupid that from there. So if you're not getting money sent in, it's not that much to live off of. It's really not. But as far as the prison pay scale goes, it was max pay and max days. So I'm getting my 10 days a month, good time for it, which helped me out in the long run when I ended up getting my time back. The good time that I had accrued from working and just keeping my minding my own business, keeping my affairs to myself, not getting involved with stupidity, catching a bunch of tickets. I didn't lose any good time, which was remarkable. It was very out of the box to see that happen. So it's 2007. I'm working nighttime ground maintenance crew. It's a 2-man job. It's me and another guy. And to get to that position, we had to work the daytime ground maintenance crew. And I was on that for maybe a couple of years. I had started out in the commissary, just decent job. But ground maintenance, we were outside all day, which is really nice. We would push mow the grass for the whole jail. We'd get like 6 or 7 guys, and we would line up with lawnmowers just staggered back, and we would just go out, cut the grass, maybe do some raking up, leaves or whatever if that would happen, moving stone around if they're building something. Just basic grunt work, dumb stuff, but you got to be outside. You got to be outside all day, get some fresh air, you're getting off the tier. It was a good gig. It was pretty tough in the summertime because you got to wear boots, you're wearing the outfit that they give you. And it's not like you can take your shirt off or anything like that. So you're sweating. You're sweating, just push mowing acres and acres and acres of grass all day long. But it was a good job, exercise, outdoors, not bad. After I was on that for some time, there was a position that opened up for the nighttime ground maintenance gig. And I really wanted to get on that because it was maybe about a half hour of work. So I would go outside at nighttime after count, when everybody would be back in their cells around like 11 p.m. I would go outside, me and the other dude, and we get these big, giant metal bins with wheels on them, and we would push them. And you just push it all the way down the compound, and the housing unit workers would take all the trash outside. They'd put it out, the trash from the end of the day. They'd load it up and just put it outside by the front door. So I would get 3 housing units, and the other guy would get the other 3 housing units. We'd load up all the trash and push it back, and these things would get heavy, so it was a good workout. It was a really good, strong workout for your, lower body, your upper body. It was a full body workout. You're just pushing this giant bin that got pretty heavy at times. And so I would usually get housing unit 4, 5, and 6, and he would get 1, 2, and 3. And like I said, it was a good gig. It's about half an hour, get the good days, you get the max pay, and there was little benefits that you would get with the job. Like, sometimes, if you had a cool guard, which wasn't all the time, a lot of good stuff gets tossed out in shakedowns. So I'd be able to grab things and take them back, sell them on the tier, or just keep them for myself. It could be shoes, it could be clothes, it could be books, might be headphones, things like that. There's not a whole lot to choose from in there. So when you get things that come across, and if they're not trash, or if they don't have a bunch of food thrown on them or something like that, sometimes these shakedown bags will just be the contraband that they take and throw into a trash bag, and it gets tossed out. At the end of the night, I might be able to get it. Might be able to get some CDs or what have you. There's different stuff. So it was a good job. It was a really good job to have. It got me out. It gave me wings. I was pretty much able to go wherever I was allowed to go at nighttime, which is housing unit 4, 5, and 6, or 1, 2, and 3. We'd split it up. Housing unit 4 was lockup. So something I would do that the guards didn't like, but I would do this just about every night when I went down towards lockup. It was the guys over there had no contact with anyone. Excuse me. They didn't have any contact. So if there's a sports game on, like on a Sunday night or Monday Night Football or whatever, playoff games, whenever I would leave the tier to go do my job, I would check the scores for all the games and go down, and I'd be pushing my cart, and I'd just keep my head down and not look over that way, but they'd have the windows open. They'd be hollering a lot, hey, pass a message to such and such in this unit, tell them this and that. And I'd do what I could, If I would see somebody in the yard that was waiting to hear, I would holler at them. But it wasn't common, like all the time. So like nighttime was different than daytime. When I was daytime ground maintenance doing that, I could pass messages along easier. Nighttime, it was more difficult, and I'd let them know. I'd be like, hey, I'm probably not going to see them, but if I do, I'll pass it along. And they were always like, oh, I appreciate it. You got some crazy guys over there who just want to cuss you out and scream and holler at you, say all kinds of disgusting, stupid things for no reason. And they're on lockup. They're bored, and a lot of these dudes they're just sick in the head, like straight up. They're just messed up individuals. But I'd go by and I'd holler the scores out. I'd be like, yeah, Seahawks 21, Niners 14. Just holler the scores out. And they're like, all right, thanks, white boy. I'd get that a lot. Thanks, white boy. I'm just like, all right, whatever. But they appreciated it. Sometimes the guards would come and stand out in front of the housing unit just so I couldn't say anything. And they would watch me, because you're not supposed to talk to them. You're not supposed to. There's no communication that's supposed to happen. But like I said, I would try to pass messages when I could and try to give them updates, what's going on, like with the games and whatnot. That's all I could do. But little things like that help. I remember being on lockup for 120 days, and it sucked. And sometimes just getting that little bit of outside news, a little bit of interaction was a nice thing. So with this job, I'm going back one night, and they were like, all right, we need you to go out. There was a massive shakedown in such and such housing unit. There's tons of trash. You and the other guy go out, go down there, get all the trash and take it out, and it'll be, before your 11 o'clock gig. So it's like, okay, that's not a big deal. So I might work like an hour instead of half an hour on these job details. Not a problem. So we go out early this night. I load up all the trash that I'm getting. I'm standing by the gate. There's a couple gates that you have to go through to get out towards the trash compactors. They're closer to the Sally Port, which is the entrance in and out of the jail. So it's very secure housing. They'll unlock one gate after they clear the count. They'll be like, all right, count's clear, yard is secure, whatever it was. I can't remember exactly how they would say it. But as soon as count was clear, they'd pop the gate, and I go through that first one with this big thing of trash. Then they close it and lock it. Then they'll go up and open another gate. And I go out there and they close it and lock it. Then I push this thing around to the trash compactors, and we just throw them in, and they crush it, and however many times it took until we emptied these bins out. And then we would leave. That would be the night. So we go out, and they pat us down afterwards, and then back to your cell. The coolest part about the job was I got to get my own shower. This was worth it. This was one of the reasons I wanted to get the job. I didn't have to be in there showering with a bunch of dudes. I don't want to do that. You have to in prison, and it's like, whatever. If you have to, you have to. But I had the option. It was great. I get done. They're like, hey, you want to shower? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you got 10 minutes. Cool. So I'd have my shower stuff ready after my detail. Go out, do my thing, quick 10-minute shower, in and out. It was nice. So that was one of the fringe details of the job as well, one of the nice perks, you could say. But this particular night, they called me out early for the shakedown trash. We're picking all that up. I'm waiting for count to clear because pill call is happening. Pill call is all the people on medication in prison. They can't just say, here's your meds, take them back to your cell with you. They're not going to do that. That's just never going to happen. I mean, they'll let you take like Motrin, muscle rub, that's it. Anything beyond that, like there's guys on some serious psych meds. They have to be given to you like one at a time. So these guys, they would do housing unit at a time. So you would have housing unit 1 would go, 2, 3, then 5, and then 6. 6 was kind of, it was away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were on the one side of the compound. 6 was separate. 4 was housing unit. So 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 would go. People were notorious for trying to pass messages, contraband, kites, whatever. They would take this real slow walk back from the pill walk. They'd take their time walking up there so that when they got there, like everybody else might just be walking normal speed, go get their meds, and then they come back. A lot of those guys with the serious psych meds, they were what we referred to as cell bodies. They just stayed in their cell for the most part. You might see them here and there. I mean, They were whacked out. Like, you could tell they were dosed. And that was most of them. Some of these guys, they would just take their time on pill walk so that they would have the opportunity to possibly cross paths with the next housing unit. So if you slowed down just enough, you might be able to catch somebody in another unit. And that's how they would pass messages and whatnot. This particular night, it was Housing Unit 1 and Housing Unit 6 were crossing paths. They didn't always keep them completely separate because they just want to get pill call done. It's a pain. They go up, they give them their medication, they make them, take it right there in front of them, show them. And then at that point, send them out the door. Certain people, they watch harder because they know that they're trying to take pills back. Certain people, they get caught doing that. So it can be time consuming for the medical department. So this particular evening, I was in Housing Unit 1. There was a guy in my housing unit who was on my tier. This guy was affiliated. I'm not going to say with who. I'm not trying to upset anyone in the gangs. It's not what I'm doing. He was affiliated, and he was going to pill call for whatever. I have no idea. Didn't ask, didn't care. Never had any problems with him. He minded his own business. His crew, they didn't really bother people too much. I crossed paths with him a couple times, just maybe play some cards, see him in a rec hall, small talk, joking, whatever. Didn't have any problems with him or his gang. I really didn't have any problems with any of the gangs. I stayed out of their way, was respectful, didn't bother them, and didn't cause any problems for me. So they didn't just come around leaning up on everybody all the time, trying to press people, shake them down. It wasn't like that. You really kind of had to give them a reason to come after you for the most part, because they're not just going to go around picking on everybody. They don't do that. Some do, I guess, but I didn't have that problem. So dude was affiliated. He's going up to pill call one night. Housing Unit 6 was also doing pill call. So I'm waiting next to the guard shack with the officer. It's on detail. He doesn't usually run this detail, but he was chill. He wasn't bothering anybody. This guy was near the end of his career. He was an older guard, and I think he was going to be retiring in a couple years. Didn't bother anybody. As far as guards go, he was a decent one. So we're waiting for pill call to finish up so that they can open the gates and run the trash out. You can't do it while everybody's walking around on the compound. You just can't do it. So I'm standing there and I'm just waiting, and the officer's there, and he's watching these guys go back and forth. I'm just waiting over there by the gate. A guy from Housing Unit 6 comes over. The guy that I know from Housing Unit 1 was taking his time, and they cross paths where the guard shack was that I was standing. And I'll never forget it because I couldn't believe what I heard. The dude off of my tier was a skinny, tiny little guy. He came over and he went up to the dude and he just started swinging at him, just hitting him with these wimpy little connects. I mean, they were not doing anything to him, but he's hitting him the whole time, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm figuring at first in my mind, I'm thinking it's gang business. Something happened here. Maybe this guy owes money. I don't know. Don't care. But then he starts yelling at him. He says to the guy, as he's throwing these little weak hits on him, he's like, "You killed my mom. You killed my mom." And I was like, oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, that dude killed your mom? And I was completely shocked. I was totally shocked when I heard that. And I'm just watching, like, big-eyed, my mouth is open. I couldn't believe it. So he's hitting him with these soft punches. But he's trying, and he's doing his thing. The other guy's not really fighting back. He's just kind of covering up a little bit and getting hit. And he just kept yelling at that point. You could feel the anger in his voice starting to come out. Like at first, he was just like, "You killed my mom. You killed my mom." And he's like, "You killed my mom. You killed my mom." And I was like, bro, I could feel his pain. And I just shocked. Completely shocked that this was happening. Never seen anything like that. Seen a lot of fights in there. Seen some pretty bad stuff happen to people. But never to that emotional level. Nothing like it. Not since, not before. The guard at that point, you could tell he was shocked too, because he was just like he didn't even react at first. It took him a second. And then he called code on his radio, which is, it's like 1010, all officers come to the scene, whatever, 1010 guard shack 1. So there's a little bit of time before they get there. And in the small amount of time, like maybe 30 seconds that this whole thing transpired before they got pulled off of each other, I'm going through the whole gamut of emotions. I'm just like, oh, well, here's a fight. Just sitting back watching it. Just like, okay, all right, get to see a fight tonight. And, I'm just watching. I'm not doing anything. Got my hands in front of me, just here, Friday night fights, whatever. And then when he starts talking about, "You killed my mom," I was invested. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, man, if he killed your mom, beat the brakes off of him. Like, stomp this dude. I can only imagine. Like, if I came across somebody that killed my mom, ooh. So I'm in his shoes now. Like, in my mind, I'm just, like, seeing myself in his shoes. I'm just like, yeah, get him, man. Get him. Get him for that. You can't be killing people's moms and running across them, think nothing's going to happen. When they finally pulled him off of each other, not much had really happened, but I think the dude felt better. I hope he got that off of his chest, because you're really not supposed to come across that guy in prison. You're not supposed to see them. That was a colossal error by classification. And every way you look at it, they messed up. After the dust settles, I'm still standing there because I'm like, whoa, that was nuts. Guard comes over to me when everybody else is gone. He goes, "Did you hear what he said?" And I was like, I don't know what you mean, man. And he was like, "Oh, no, I don't need no statement or anything like that." But he's like, "He said he killed his mom?" And I was just like, just looked at him. He was like, "Man, I wanted to let him keep hitting him." He's like, "But I can't, He's like, "We got cameras out here." And I was like, ugh. I said, that was pretty crazy. He's like, phew. He didn't even really hit him that hard. And I was like, I know. And the guard wasn't like getting me to talk about it, but he was feeling the same emotions that I was, like, bro, that guy killed his mom, and he tried, but he really didn't do too much to him. And it's pretty much one of the biggest missed opportunities for getting back at somebody like that. And I'm definitely not advocating to, like, revenge or anything, but I can understand. I can totally understand how he felt, just having a little bit of empathy for his position. Jeez. I mean, I could imagine what's going through his mind. But so the guy goes off to lockup, the instigator, guy that was off my tier. I don't think he was there for that long. It might have been 30 days or something, because he hadn't been in the jail for a long time. And it really wasn't that serious of an incident. But it was more of the charged emotions behind it than the actual altercation. The act of violence itself was not that serious. Kind of surprised he didn't go and get a tool and wait a little bit longer and plan it out. I mean, but who knows? It could have been a reaction thing. I don't know what's going through his head, but when he came back on the tier, because everybody had asked me, like, man, what happened? And I was like, bro. So I told him just what I just said to the camera right now is what happened. Everybody's like, oh, man. They're like, did he put work in on him? I was like his guys, his affiliated buds, they were like, man, did he represent, did he stand up, did he put work in on this guy? And I said, yeah, man, bro had heart. And I just left it at that. They're like, all right. And I was like, yeah, he had heart. He didn't have hands, but he had heart. And I didn't know how else to tell him. And when he came back on the tier, he was all proud of it. He was like, hey, you were out there. You saw it, man. He's like, I went at him, huh? And I was like, you definitely went at him, dog. I was like, for sure, you definitely did. I was like, I couldn't imagine being in your situation, bro. That's crazy. And he was just like, yeah. I didn't have the heart to tell him or anybody else how soft it was, but it is what it is. So, I don't know. I think a lot of other guys in there, because they were talking about it afterwards, they were like, why didn't he wait, get a tool, and, like, seriously, like, plan this out in a much more efficient manner? I got to be careful what I say. I don't want to get flagged online, but I think everybody's thinking what I'm insinuating. He didn't really plan it out properly. He didn't go at it in a way where he possibly could have. I'm not saying that he should have. I'm just saying. If that was my mom, I might have done it a little bit differently. So I'm going to leave that at that. But it was probably one of the most interesting fights that I've seen, just because the driving force behind it. You don't see that. It was. I'm sure he'll never see that guy again, ever again, because he didn't have a long time. Young skinny guy. He did not have a lot of time to do. So I'm sure he's done his time and been out several years. I don't know if he's been back or not. Don't care. But he'll never, ever see the guy in prison again who murdered his mother. That opportunity was a rarity. It was a complete fluke. And maybe it was just a reaction, but you would think he would have been better prepared for that situation. So anyway, definitely one of the weirder fights that I've seen. Very anticlimactic, but emotionally charged. DOC messed up in the biggest way by putting those two together. But I'm just hoping the guy's got some kind of closure now, because I just can't imagine. I can't imagine running across your mom's killer inside a prison cell or on a prison grounds. But either way, probably won't happen again. If it does, then that classification officer just needs to be fired and go flip fries and burgers at McDonald's, because you have like one job. That's it. But maybe he was doing him a favor. Who knows? That classification personnel could have been doing a favor for someone, saying, hey, I'm going to put you here, and you got one shot at this. So that's entirely possible too. There's a bunch of corrupt people that work within the system. I mean, you've got prison guards that are gang affiliated in Jessup. These guys, they'll pop cells for you, and you'll be able to get some work put in when you don't think you can. They might let 4 or 5 you out, your affiliated friends, to go do whatever you got to do to another person in a cell. So there's a lot of corruption in the Maryland system. There was a big thing several years ago about all the, it was like a federal sting where they came into Baltimore City, and I think they got a bunch of guards. I mean, they found a bunch of cell phones, knives, drugs. I think there was bullets, because you can make things called zip guns, and if you get a bullet, you can actually shoot somebody in jail, in prison. You can create a device called a zip gun to shoot someone. So the bullets, if you can get them, you can use them. And I think they had that going on. So there's definitely a lot of corruption. I don't know whether it was just ignorance or or if it was on purpose. So it could have been corruption, it could have been ignorance. Either way, that happened. It was a total shock. But anyway, I hope you guys like this true story that I watched happen in front of me. I mean, it was maybe 15 feet away from me, maybe 20 feet tops. 15 feet, 20 feet away, and I just stood there and just took it all in and watched it. And yeah, it was pretty crazy stuff. If you like this, please like, subscribe, follow the channel, share it with somebody else who might want to hear it. Appreciate you sticking around to the end. As always, the wise man doesn't get himself into what the smart man has to get himself out of.